This is Jack and Nick. We're cooking some sausage, and we're going to answer some questions from YouTube on the videos that have been published already. Question number 1, Jack. What are the waist-high plants with the thick, almost corn-like stalks beside the fruit trees?
Sorghum.
Sorghum.
Sorghum, and the geese and the ducks love that.
All right.
It's a lot like corn, but it grows seed heads on the top, and you can also squeeze juice out of the stalks, but we don't grow near enough of it to do that. And you say waist high, those are the ones that are cut already. It actually grows about 9 feet tall. Next.
Cool. All right, number 2. Do you use a new piece of weed blocker every year?
Not unless we have to. Try to reuse it as much as possible. But if you noticed, like one of the beds was planted with green beans. So instead of cutting an X like Nick said yesterday and doing individual plants, I just made a long slit down it. So as long as I want to plant something else that's like a row crop, like carrots or something, we could reuse that one. But if I wanted to put a whole bunch of like cauliflower or broccoli or something like that in there, I'd have to redo that one. And when they wear out, you redo them. Otherwise, keep using them as long as we can.
All right, number 3. Do wood chips leach nitrogen out of the soil?
Absolutely not. I'm a little. It's kind of one of my pet peeves with that one, guys. If you put down like 8 inches of wood chips, you're going to have problems for reasons other than nitrogen. But wood chips will pull some nitrogen, but they're only going to do it where the wood chips make contact with the soil, so it's a very thin layer, and it's over time. And then the nitrogen's not gone. It's actually taken up into the wood chips, which breaks down in a slow composting process and re-released to the plants. And if you're that worried about it in your first year, use a little supplemental organic nitrogen and go on with life. And stop listening to YouTube videos by people that are morons.
I picked that one because I knew you'd love it, Jack. All right, number 4. We were talking about the what's the berry? Not the gumi.
Goji?
Goat.
Or autumn olive?
Autumn olive.
Autumn olive.
And about how they're invasive. And this person says, the whole idea of invasive botany has me stumped. Isn't evolution based on the survival of the fittest? Why are these scientists, in air quotes, so dedicated to stopping evolution?
I agree to an extent. There are certain plants and certain species that can really wreak havoc on an ecosystem. Kudzu is a perfect example of something really run amok. But if you actually read, like the Texas Department of Natural Resources has out a paper on autumn olive and why it's a problem, and this is their reasoning. Because autumn olive improves the habitat and increases nitrogen, it displaces native species that grow in very unfertile conditions. So the problem is actually that it makes the system too good. I think we're not understanding things if we're calling that an invasive species. So there are certain things like the snakehead fish that got into some of the lakes, and these things crawl and can go miles. That can be real problems. If there's no native predators, fire ants here, there's no native predators in their natural habitat. They're not anywhere near as big a problem. But autumn olive, yeah, not a problem. In fact, if anybody's ever had autumn olive mead, you know why it's not a problem.
All right, the number 5. Why don't your birds fly away? Aren't they migratory birds?
Well, no, because they're domestic ducks. And while all our ducks are mallard-derived, if you look at a mallard and like a cayuga or Metzer layer or a Swedish or whatever, the domestic ducks are much larger. And this means they can't fly very well. In fact, our ducks have a hard time flying over the little water feeders that we have for them. That's about the best they can do. They have to get a running start and they can fly a little bit. The Indian runners are pretty light-bodied and they can get in the air for a bit, but they can't really fly. Now, we do have some mallards that we really didn't want, but we ended up with. And technically, they're the same duck that migrates. But, well, they're not going to leave because all their needs are provided for. And then the other thing, we deal with some flames here real quick, is that for mallards to migrate, they need a full flock. Because if you've ever seen ducks or geese fly, they fly in that V formation. And you see that V kind of move and ebb and flow. And you'll see birds actually rotate around. And they do not have the range. A couple mallards on their own cannot fly that kind of distance. They need a group to be able to act as a collective and be able to fly like that. So, no and no and no.
All right, number 6. Can you tell us about the cinder block fence post holders?
Yeah, so there's, if you'd watched season 1 of Duck Chronicles, you would have seen when they all went in, but basically we have rock everywhere here, and not rocks, we have rock slab. And we just can't get posts in the ground. And the previous homeowner had tons of cinder blocks laying around. So all we did was take short fence posts, set them up on the top of the ground, and fill them with sackcrete. We didn't even mix the sackcrete. We just put it in there with the fence post and then wet them down with a hose. And once they're in, and we drove the posts as deep as we could. So probably the posts are that far into the ground below the cinder blocks. And that gave us a good stable platform, and we put our fencing in. And as you've seen, it's like 3-foot fencing because that's all we need to control the ducks. It's not that they, some of them can fly a little bit, like we said earlier. They can get over it, but it's not really worth their effort. And if 1 or 2 get over, it's not a problem. We're trying to manage the flock as a whole.
All right, that's all we got for you.
All right, well, guys, we're cooking kielbasa right now. Just to show you what we've been up to, we've also, guys that came this time get a special treat. This is duck sausage made with cognac. And I think we've made, what, 120, 130 of those, Nick?
Oh, yeah.
So I think we have a couple we can sample yet. We're making some kielbasa. This is for lunch on tomorrow, lunch on Thursday. And when I'm done with the kielbasa, we're going to break out bratwurst and some habanero sausage and some roasted red pepper and corn or something like that. That's all for tonight. I say that we don't feed you on Wednesday, but we feed you on Wednesday. And we'll wrap up there.